I'm Rachel. I'm one of the OTs here at PTA, and we're going to go over some swings and swing safety today. Sergio sent you guys an email with the slides that I'm going to be referring to today, so just pull that up so that you can look at it as I kind of go over it all. So I'm just going to start with what is occupational therapy and why is OT giving this presentation and why we are the ones that kind of know about the swings and how to use them with the safety and with the kids. So OT is a service, a therapy that takes place in many different settings, but we're going to just go off the pediatric outpatient setting right now. So we help with getting children to be more successful and independent in their daily tasks. So that can be anything from getting dressed in the morning to meeting their sensory needs throughout the day to fine motor, gross motor, and everything in between. So why do we use the swings mostly? And why am I the one that's giving this presentation? So OT has a good focus and a good education background on the sensory system and what each one of those inputs tells a child's body. So we have a lot of kids here that are either hyper or hypo responsive to various sensory inputs, and one of the swings is a way that we can help regulate the body using vestibular input, which is basically anything that your body is moving. So as simple as going from sitting to laying backwards, anywhere where your head is changing positions is going to give that vestibular input. So obviously when you're on a moving platform, you're getting that input. And we can do that to either calm the body down or also wake the body up and increase the child's arousal level. So just to start off with some basic swing safety, we have various different swings in all of the locations. The safety precautions really go with no matter what swings you're using. So first, the therapist, the ABA therapist, the OT, the speech, the BCBA, whoever's using the swings at the time should be the one to put them up onto the ropes and the black contraption up there and be the one to take it down when the child is done using it. The child should always be either sitting or laying on a swing. We don't stand on the swings for safety reasons. And then a mat or the crash pad should always be placed underneath the swing just in case for safety precautions in case they fall. There's different swings. For example, like the bar swing or a bolster swing are the ones that you really want to have the crash pad because they are more likely to fall off those swings, whereas maybe a platform swing or the cuddle swing is okay to just have the mat down because it's less likely that they can fall out of those ones. The gym is used by various kids, more than one kid at once. Right now we have a 2-kid in the gym rule, so there may be another therapist and child in the gym while you and your child are on the swing. So you always just want to be careful of your surroundings and make sure, safety awareness for when that swing is moving and what the other kid is doing in the space. You can lower a swing down and that'll decrease the radius in which the swing can go. So that's one way, if your kid's going a little crazy on the swing, that you can just kind of minimize the amount of area that they are using around the swing. And then if you have any questions about either how to put the swings up, how to take them down, what swing you should be using for when, or anything like that, always ask the OT that's in your building. We're always available to kind of help, and we can even help you decide what your client's needs are and when you should be using what different types of swings and whether you should be spinning them or going straight, which is what I'll get into next. So there's 2 different ways that a swing basically can move. So you can either go linear, which is going to be moving the swing straight, or you have rotational. So you can either move a swing around in a large circle, or you have a fast rotational, which would be like a tire swing that you may have played on in a playground when you were growing up. So that's going to be super fast. So that is going to be the most input, whereas linear is going to be the least amount of input. Linear is going to be the most calming for the body, and that fast rotational is going to be the most alerting to the child. So if you're not sure about the kid's vestibular input or how they take that, I always say don't spin them until you know. Ask the OT, see how they do with linear, just very slow back and forth movements, and because we really don't want that overstimulation of their sensory system. So you may be asking, what is overstimulation of your sensory system? So some of the signs of that may include feeling sleepy or yawning, getting the hiccups, or becoming super energetic all of a sudden, and even becoming sometimes tearful. If you do fast rotational and a kid becomes overstimulated, they may get dizzy, nauseous. Some kids may even get sick if they get that input too much and their body can't handle it. So if that happens and you're starting to see some of these signs, you obviously want to stop using a swing. You're going to take the child off the swing, take the swing down and put it back, and then we're going to try to do what we call heavy work. So my favorite way of doing heavy work is saying, oh, we need to help clean up the gym before we leave and go back to our room for work. You can push some of the gym equipment around, anything that's pushing, pulling, carrying, anything that's going to give that kid weight to their joints and their muscles. So there's many different ways to do that. Even jumping off onto the crash pad and things like that is going to help kind of back regulate that kid's system. And you really want to do this because if we are overstimulated, and then you, ABA therapist, BCBAs, speech, whatever your discipline is, to go back into your room and try to do work, it's going to be very difficult because that kid is going to be in a flight or flight response if they're dysregulated. So it's really going to be near impossible to try to get what you guys are trying to get done if now we're overstimulated and we're dysregulated because of what we did in the gym. So some behaviors that we might see with use of swings. So some of our kids use the swings as almost like their reward for their token board or their visual schedule, so they get X amount of work done and then they get to come in here and go on one of the swings. So you may see non-compliance because they want to avoid that work, but they really want the gym and they might really need that swing. So think of it as a way that they're trying to avoid doing their work. Whereas if you're dysregulated, it's almost like your body physically cannot do the work until you receive that sensory input to be regulated. So it's a very fine line. It's almost hard to tell with some of our kids, especially when it's non-compliance versus when it's dysregulation. Again, you can always ask either the BCBA or the OTs with help for that. So when they're dysregulated, you really want to give them that input, so then again, you hit that regulation level and you can go into your room, do your work, and you'll have better outcomes and better results. Whereas non-compliance, then we'll have to work together to figure out, maybe different system or something that they can do their work, then come in and get their reward. So that's kind of behaviors that you may see before you do a swing, or throughout the day. But what happens if your child is starting to display behaviors while you're in the gym, maybe even on a swing? So the first thing you want to do, obviously, if the child's becoming unsafe or having behaviors while on the swing, we want to stop swinging. So the best way to do that is to stabilize the swing. You can hold the ends or the perimeter of the swing, depending on what swing it is. So you want to stabilize it, really hold it so that it's not moving. And then your next goal is going to be to remove the child off of the swing. So either they can remove themselves or you may need to assist in that process as well. And then once the child is off of the swing, your next step is going to be to get the swing off of our hanging system and put it back away so that the child can remain safe. So I'm going to go over a couple of the various swings that we have here and kind of some things that they're good for, ways that you can help set up and all of those things. So we have signs next to all the swings that have a picture of how it looks when it's set up, and then also all of these points that I'm going to go over. So don't worry about memorizing all of this. It's here for you guys when you need it. And so So I'm going to start with a platform swing, which is going to be a large flat swing. It typically has 2 hooks that have to attach to the hanging system. The child can either be sitting or laying on the platform swing. It's really good for core strength and upper body strength because they really need to maintain that upright position while sitting with moving, and that's also postural control. This is really only linear. Do not try to spin one of the platform swings. They're just made for linear. So that's going to be the most calming for the child. It's going to be that platform swing. And with that one, you just want to make sure that it's level before you start swinging it, because if it's tilted one way or the other and you start swinging it, it might flip over, and we don't want that to happen. And with that being said, the child should be sitting in the middle of the swing. That way the weight is evenly distributed as well. So we also have a large disc swing, which is going to be a big circular one. It also has 2 hooks to attach to the hanging system. Again, sitting or laying on this. And they're really used for the same things. Some of that core strength, upper body strength, postural control, things like that. This one you can spin either in, again, that big, large rotation or super close spinning. If you do super close with any of these swings, you want to do a couple times one way, stop, make sure your kid's feeling okay, doing okay. You really want to look at the eyes. If their eyes are moving back and forth, that's when you want to be done spinning. If they're okay, you can spin a couple times to the other side, a couple, 3, 4, and then be done swinging, go back to linear for a little bit, or they can be all done on the swing. And then we also have a playground swing, which is, like it says in the title, just a regular, playground swing that you'd see at any playground. It also has 2 hooks. The child can be seated in the playground swing, or they can be laying on their stomach and prone doing certain activities, but really we do want to focus on them being seated upright in that playground swing. Okay. And then if on that slide, if you see the picture to the left, you just want to make sure that all the ropes are straight and nothing's all tangled up before you put the swing up, because that'll just complicate things. So make sure everything's kind of untangled before you put them up. And then we have a hammock swing that has 1 clip. You can be seated in there, laying on your stomach or back, side. This one's really good for regulation because it also provides what we call proprioceptive input. So it's like getting that big hug to their shoulders, their back, their legs, which will really help be calming. And that's also for the cuddle swing as well. And those, for the sling or the hammock, you really can move back and forth, don't spin in there. The bar swing is like a straight, kind of looks like what you go down a zip line on. 1 point to attach. You want to be gripping with both hands, and you want to have the crash pad underneath of there on top of a mat, because they will let go of that and crash. So that's why you want to have that crash pad underneath of there. This one's really good to work your arm strength, your core strength, your grip, anything like that. You can have the child go in kind of like a circular movement or back and forth while they're on that swing. I went over the cuddle swing a little bit, but that one point of attachment, and you can either be seated or kneeling in this. It's really good, again, for kind of receiving that hug-like input that's going to be very calming for the body. You can go straight, or you can kind of swing circular. However, with the cuddle swing, because it's kind of like a pod, you do lose some of that vision, so that makes it more likely for a kid to become overstimulated in this swing, especially spinning, because they don't have all of that vision. So just keep that in mind as well. A bolster swing looks like a big long tube basically. It has 1 point that'll attach. The child can either be like straddled on it and squeezing with their legs, holding on, or they can lay underneath of it and kind of be like a monkey on a tree and use their arms and their legs to wrap around from the bottom, coming up. And that's gonna really be good for core strength if they're sitting on the top, arm strength and leg strength if they are underneath. And then we also have a small disc swing, so that is a long rope with a little circular disc at the bottom. So that one position, you're gonna be seated, wrapped around with the rope in between the child's legs. Make sure they're holding on to that rope, swing back and forth. Good for core strength, postural control, balance, and all of those things. So I'm going to go over kind of how we put swings up and take them down using this black contraption that we use. So to move a swing up, once you attach it into this hole right here, that's where the hooks will go. To move a swing up, you can just lift right arm up. You don't need to use anything in this black. However, to put a swing down, you just want to stick one finger in this bottom hole. You're gonna pinch and you can lower. So it has a safety mechanism that it won't move down unless you have you release it that way. And then again, the swing just goes in that part right there.